The first wrench hit the concrete so hard that everyone in the garage turned to look. The championship race car, rebuilt from a twisted shell after a devastating crash, sat gleaming under the afternoon sunlight pouring through the open workshop doors. The single father who had spent months saving it wiped the sweat from his face with tired hands, expecting gratitude after sacrificing nearly everything he owned. Instead, the team owners looked at him with cold eyes and refused to pay a single dollar. They believed they had already won. They believed they could replace the man who had brought their dream back to life. They had no idea that within hours, every professional driver at the track would refuse to touch the steering wheel of that very car, and the reason would leave an entire racing community speechless. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances still matter in this world, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel to become part of our growing community that believes compassion can change lives. Gavin Mercer had never dreamed of becoming famous. He only wanted enough honest work to keep a roof over his small house and provide a peaceful life for his 9-year-old daughter, Clara. 5 years earlier, a tragic highway accident had taken his wife, leaving him with heartbreak that never truly faded and a child who tried to smile even when she secretly missed her mother every single day. Every morning before sunrise, Gavin prepared breakfast, braided Clara's hair the best he could after watching countless tutorials, packed her lunch, and walked her to school before heading to his modest repair shop. His garage was old, the walls carried decades of grease stains, and the equipment had seen better years, but everyone who truly understood automobiles knew one thing. If Gavin rebuilt a machine, it became safer than when it first left the factory. Word of his extraordinary craftsmanship slowly reached a prestigious racing organization owned by wealthy businessman Preston Hale. Their newest championship car had suffered catastrophic damage during testing. Engineers declared it beyond repair. Insurance investigators expected it to be scrapped. Millions of dollars appeared lost. Someone quietly suggested taking the wreck to Gavin, though many executives laughed at the idea that an ordinary mechanic could accomplish what elite specialists had failed to do. Preston reluctantly agreed because there were no better options. The destroyed vehicle arrived on a trailer looking more like crushed metal than a race car. Most people stared at it for a few seconds before shaking their heads. Gavin walked around it carefully in the bright afternoon sunlight, examining every bent frame section, cracked suspension mount, damaged weld, and twisted safety structure. He didn't promise miracles. He simply nodded and said he would rebuild it properly or not rebuild it at all. The contract seemed straightforward. Gavin would receive enough money to clear his debts, repair his workshop, and finally replace the leaking roof that forced him to place buckets across the floor whenever heavy rain arrived. More importantly, Clara would finally have the piano lessons she quietly wished for but never requested because she knew money was tight. She often told her father she already had everything she needed. Gavin knew she deserved so much more. The following months became an exhausting journey. Gavin worked through countless sunny afternoons, refusing shortcuts that could compromise safety. Every damaged component was measured repeatedly. Hidden structural weaknesses invisible to ordinary mechanics were reinforced with painstaking precision. Some replacement parts did not exist anymore, forcing him to manufacture them by hand. He invested his personal savings purchasing specialized materials because he refused to lower his standards. Friends warned him that he was risking everything for people who barely respected him, but Gavin answered with the same quiet conviction every time. A machine carrying a human life deserved honesty. Clara often sat near the workshop entrance after school, reading books while watching her father work. She admired the way he treated every bolt, every weld, and every tiny adjustment as though someone's family depended on it. In many ways, they did. Racing was thrilling, but one hidden mistake could steal a future forever. Eventually the impossible became reality. The once destroyed car stood restored with flawless precision. Even experienced engineers struggled to identify where the original damage had existed. During private daytime testing, the vehicle handled beautifully. Lap times improved beyond expectations. Everyone celebrated except Gavin, who simply smiled with quiet relief because he knew the driver would be protected if another accident happened. Then everything changed. When Gavin arrived to receive the payment they had promised, Preston announced that company accountants had reviewed the project and decided the repairs were overpriced. Since Gavin had signed a complicated agreement filled with technical clauses, they claimed he had unknowingly accepted reduced compensation based on their own evaluation. The amount offered barely covered his expenses. Months of sacrifice vanished with a few cold sentences. Gavin stood silently, holding the papers while employees avoided looking into his eyes. He thought about the unpaid bills stacked at home. He thought about Clara pretending not to notice the worn-out shoes she had outgrown months ago. Yet even then, he refused to beg. He quietly collected his toolbox, thanked the workers who had treated him respectfully, and walked away under the warm afternoon sun. News traveled faster than Preston expected. Professional racing depended upon trust. Drivers willingly risked their lives only when they believed every mechanic, engineer, and technician valued safety above profit. Several mechanics who had witnessed Gavin's dedication privately told leading drivers exactly what had happened. They described how Gavin had personally rejected cheaper materials, corrected engineering mistakes nobody else had noticed, and spent his own money protecting whoever would eventually race that vehicle. The issue was no longer about unpaid invoices. It became about integrity. One after another, respected drivers refused to race the car. They publicly explained that if a team could betray the very man responsible for making the vehicle safe, how could anyone trust future maintenance decisions once budgets became inconvenient? Their refusal stunned sponsors, reporters, engineers, and fans gathering beneath the bright afternoon sky. The championship event suddenly faced chaos because no experienced racer would risk becoming part of a culture that rewarded dishonesty. Television interviews spread throughout the racing world. Veteran mechanics shared stories of Gavin helping struggling families without charging labor costs. Former customers described him returning money when repairs proved simpler than expected. Parents remembered him fixing vehicles so children could safely reach hospitals. None of those stories had ever appeared in newspapers because Gavin never sought attention. Kindness had simply become his ordinary way of living. Public opinion shifted dramatically. Sponsors began questioning Preston's leadership. Investors demanded explanations. Fans organized peaceful gatherings outside the racetrack carrying handmade signs celebrating honesty, craftsmanship, and respect for working people. What began as one unpaid mechanic had become a powerful reminder that character could never be purchased. Meanwhile, Gavin remained inside his small garage, continuing ordinary repairs. He declined television interviews because unfinished customer vehicles still waited. Clara noticed her father seemed quieter than usual. Without saying much, she handed him a drawing she had made during school. It showed a broken race car transformed into a soaring bird. At the bottom she had written that good hearts always find their way home. Those simple words nearly brought him to tears. Days later, an elderly former racing champion named Malcolm Reeves arrived unexpectedly. His career had ended decades earlier, but his reputation remained legendary. After carefully inspecting Gavin's workmanship, Malcolm declared it among the finest engineering he had ever witnessed. He explained that true professionals could recognize invisible excellence impossible for ordinary spectators to see. Every reinforcement, every measurement, and every careful decision reflected genuine respect for human life. Malcolm publicly challenged the racing organization to correct its mistake. His voice carried enormous influence. Facing overwhelming pressure, Preston attempted to replace Gavin with another technical crew. During additional inspections, those mechanics discovered several areas requiring specialized understanding unique to Gavin's rebuilding process. Nothing was unsafe, but only the original craftsman fully understood every custom modification. Nobody wanted responsibility without consulting him. The organization finally realized something money alone could not replace: trust. Preston visited Gavin's workshop during a bright afternoon expecting anger. Instead, he found Gavin patiently repairing an elderly couple's family station wagon. The wealthy executive stood awkwardly among ordinary customers who greeted Gavin with sincere appreciation. Watching people thank the mechanic for years of quiet kindness forced Preston to confront a truth he had ignored for too long. Success had filled his company with expensive equipment but emptied it of humility. For the first time in many years, Preston apologized without excuses. He admitted greed had clouded his judgment. He confessed that seeing everyone stand beside Gavin made him understand that respect could never be demanded through wealth or authority. It had to be earned through fairness. Gavin listened carefully. Forgiveness did not arrive instantly because genuine forgiveness required honesty, not convenience. He requested only 3 conditions. Every worker involved in rebuilding racing vehicles would receive transparent contracts. Safety decisions would never be influenced by accounting departments. Apprentices from struggling families would receive paid training opportunities so talented young mechanics could build meaningful careers regardless of financial background. Preston accepted every condition. The overdue payment was delivered in full with additional compensation for Gavin's personal expenses. Yet the greatest reward was not financial. Months later, the racing organization opened a technical education center carrying no executive's name. Instead, it honored everyday craftsmen whose careful work protected lives behind the scenes. Gavin became its first instructor several afternoons each week, teaching young mechanics that excellence meant doing the right thing even when nobody applauded. Clara finally began piano lessons. The workshop roof was repaired. Employees throughout the racing industry noticed safer standards becoming common because companies feared losing the trust of both drivers and fans. One mechanic's quiet courage had transformed an entire culture. When the restored championship car finally appeared at the next daytime race, every driver applauded Gavin before engines even started. The applause lasted far longer than anyone expected. It celebrated not victory on the track but victory of conscience over pride. The car completed every lap safely, proving that honest craftsmanship always outlasted shortcuts. Preston never forgot the lesson. He frequently visited the training center, speaking openly about the costly mistake that nearly destroyed his reputation. Instead of hiding his failure, he used it to teach future leaders that businesses succeed longest when people matter more than profits. Gavin returned home that afternoon holding Clara's latest piano recital certificate. As they walked together beneath the golden sunlight, neither spoke very much. They didn't need to. Their peaceful smiles carried everything words could never fully express. They had survived grief, hardship, betrayal, and uncertainty without allowing bitterness to define them. Kindness had not made life easier, but it had made life meaningful. Before this story ends, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment sharing what you believe is more valuable, talent, honesty, or forgiveness, and tell us why. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Some victories are never measured by trophies, applause, or wealth. They are measured by the lives protected through integrity, the hearts healed through forgiveness, and the example left behind for the next generation. Gavin never became the richest mechanic in the country, but he became something far greater. He became living proof that when people choose honesty over greed and compassion over pride, even the fastest race in the world cannot outrun the quiet power of a good heart.